Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the January 22nd Diversion Authority Finance Committee meeting. Don, could I please have you call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Mayor Mahoney. Mayor Carlson.
Here.
Mr. Steen.
Here.
Ms. Thompson.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Redlinger.
Here.
Mr. Grimberg.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Here.
Mr. Capitan.
Here.
Mr. Reitz. And
Here.
I know Ms. Madriga will be out. And quorum is present.
Thank you, Don. Before we begin, I'd like to formally introduce Commissioner Jim Capitan as a first meeting that he's coming to us with the Finance Committee. He was traveling last time, so welcome to the Finance Committee. Jim, we're welcome to have you. Appreciate all your years of experience on the County Commission. Item number 2 is to approve the minutes of December 18th. They are in the packet, have been distributed, and are on page 3.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Grinberg. Is there, I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Carlson seconds. Been moved and approved the minutes of December 18, 2024. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is the approval of the agenda. Again, it is in your packets.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mayor Carlson moves, and we have a second.
Mr. Steen, yes. I
Did
made
you?
a second. I did.
Okay. Mr. Steen seconded it. I wasn't sure where it came from. Thank you for clarifying, Rick. So we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 4 is the approval of the bills. We call on Susan Thomason, Finance Director, City of Fargo. It's on page 6 of the packet.
Okay, this list is total bills received through January 15th. The total is $4.6 million. Two largest ones. The first one is City of Fargo. That is primarily some storm lift rehab on various stations. And then also Cass County Joint Water Resource District. The biggest ones are from the title company, which is some closings on some land purchases. Any questions?
Any questions? Any questions on the bills that are being presented in January? This is an actionable item. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Capitan moves to approve the finance report. Excuse me, the approval of the bills. Is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Pipcorn seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the bills as presented by Mrs. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Steen.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Capitan.
Aye.
And Mr. Reitz.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Moving on to item number 5, the finance report. Again, we call on Susan Thompson. It's on page 32 of the packet.
Okay, page 32 represents the revenues, expenditures, and net position historically and also year-to-date 2024. And then page 33 is the statement of net position. We have total assets, including the budgeted fund of $304,996,152. Some small liabilities totaling $33,750. So the net position for the end of the year 2024 is $304,861,402. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Anyone?
Move to approve.
Mayor Carlson moves to approve the finance report. No, it's voice. We vote on it. Is there a second, please? Mr. Steen seconds. Been moved and seconded to accept the finance report as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 6 is a cash budget report. We call on Mr. Barthol. It's on page 57 of the packet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Before you see the annual revenue status. This is through the end of the calendar year, through December 31st. And so as you'll see, we'll close out on our tracking and through this cash budget through the end of the calendar year 2024. And then next month, we'll start the 2025 reporting. And so through this calendar year, we did receive very close to what we had estimated on the city of Fargo and the Cass County sales tax. We're just slightly under on both of those, but well within budget there. Legacy fund draws, we did receive an additional $22 million in December of last year, and so our total draws for the year was a little over $113 million for that, leaving us with about $87 million at the beginning of the year. We have placed an additional request into the legacy funds, and so that was about $11 million, so you'll see that show up in the next report. If we go on to the next page, the overall level 1 status to summarize 2024. Some significant underspends. First to note is the milestone payments to the developer. We only were able to pay them about $1.1 million. A significant amount of that has been rolled into the 2025 cash budget that was allocated earlier as we prepared the cash budget, so you should not see any changes in that cash budget in that line item when the final is presented to you in a little bit here. One overage that we do have is within the lands budget. We ended up about $6 million, $6.78 million over that budget. That was due to the excellent work by the lands team and Ms. Jody Smith being able to close a number of properties here in November, December, which pushed us above our cash budget, but it's still within our program budget. The other underspend to note is also the third-party MOU and mitigation. Again, about $22.7 million underspend on that. And that some of that has been rolled into 2025. There is probably $2 or $3 million with that adjusted, that we did have to adjust in the final cost in the final budget, cash budget for 25. So that's the overall level 1 summary. As you can see, our budget was $216 million. We spent just over $149 million. So we had an underspend of the entire cash budget of about $67 million. But if you look at those two line items, the 22 and the 30, that makes up the majority of that underspend. And then if we scroll down, unless there are questions on the level 2 detail, I'm just going to scroll down to the end and we'll go through the operations budget. This is to keep the staff and the office open. This is basically that administration costs. And so you can see that of our $1.65 million for that budget, we came in roughly $162,000 under budget on that. And that does also include the $1.48 million does include the extra stipend that was given to the co-executive directors. So that was included in that number there. Are there any questions on the cash budget?
Questions for Paul? Anyone?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That report is an informational only one. The next one we can move to is item number 7 is the MOUs and agreements. We call on Mr. John Shockley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Diversion Authority Finance Committee. My apologies for not having this item in the packet. This has been sort of a rushed item. As you, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. As you may recall or be aware, Ms. Jody Smith has taken a position with the state of North Dakota as an interim executive director. Ms. Smith has performed a lot of great, fantastic work for the authority, and there are some open negotiations still pending that she's been working on, and that we expect to continue for at least the next 6 months. And therefore, the authority wanted to still retain some of her services over the next 6 months, and also to provide some assurances that if she is called or subpoenaed to testify after the 6 months, that she's also appropriately compensated for that time. Her attorney is still reviewing this consulting agreement, and so this has been developed with the co-executive directors and some input from the chair of the Diversion Authority over the last approximate 7 days. The highlights of the agreement in front of you are that for the months of February, so Ms. Smith's last day with the Metro Flood Diversion Authority will be February 1st. And for the months of February, March, April, May, June, July, she would receive a payment, a lump sum payment of $12,000 per month to assist with the negotiations ongoing regarding the land acquisitions for both the Cass County Joint Water Resource District and the MCC JPA, and also as needed present those offers to the various boards. Thereafter, she would be paid approximately $130 per hour if she's subpoenaed to testify, and that would be through the conclusion of the project. The $12,000 per month was assumed using an approximate 40 to 50% FTE over the course of that time period, taking her wage and basically applying that percentage. And then the hourly rate was based upon her rate of pay plus what you would estimate as a little bit of the insurances and other items that would be as part of her hourly wage, keeping in mind that she may be called to testify 2 or 3 years from now. And so we wanted to build on a little bit of flexibility in that hourly rate if she's called to testify. Her attorney has not finished the review of the agreement, so there may be some additional non-substantive legal changes. And so what I'm recommending is that there would be a recommendation from the Finance Committee to approve it with any changes deemed necessary by myself, General Counsel, and Co-Executive Director Robert Wilson. And there is a little bit of timeliness needed in this document, as her last day with the authority would be February 1st. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Committee, any questions for Mr. Shockley?
I have one. Oh, go ahead.
Excuse me, on an earlier conversation, I heard there was like a monthly fee or monthly rate. Didn't I hear that earlier? I know it's an hourly rate. Is that correct, John? I mean,
There's 2 rates. It's a great question. So for the first 6 months, from February 1st through August 1st, it is a monthly stipend of $12,000.
I just got this, so,
Oh.
I'm trying to align what I heard to what I'm reading, and I didn't see all that in here, so I didn't get that far into the agreement in the last 10 minutes, so.
Understand, and I apologize for the lateness of it. This came up in the last 7 days, so.
Okay, I'll let you finish though. So it's a monthly rate for the first,
6 months, because we believe that's when the majority of the negotiations would occur. So she would receive a monthly stipend of $12,000 per month for those 6 months. And that's, she has to put as much time in as necessary to complete the negotiations. And then after August 1st, we don't expect her to be having as many negotiations, and it would just be an hourly rate of $130 per hour after August 1st. So she wouldn't be receiving both the monthly stipend and the hourly rate.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, just to add, I think this draft doesn't reflect the draft that Mr. Shockley just described. I think this must be a prior draft.
Did we get you the wrong draft?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get you the correct draft.
So, Mr. Chair, can I suggest that we continue this to our next meeting? Because first of all, it's not even a finished document. Second of all, we just got it 30 seconds ago. So to me, it's not appropriate for us to be voting on this. It's a significant financial commitment. We obviously, appreciate her work, but our job is to make sure that we're spending our money wisely, and that's not appropriate.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Carlson, did you have a comment?
Well, I think Mr. Shockley kind of answered the question that I had. I was curious as to the amount of hours that she would be working within those 6 months, but you said it would be the amount of time that was necessary to complete the proceedings with the land acquisitions.
Yeah, it's a great question. So in working with Ms. Smith, we estimated that with her time to drive out here, along with it's a day or two per week of negotiations with landowners, it would be approximately 15 to 20 hours per week, approaching a half-time status. And so we essentially took her compensation that she receives every month, split that in half, and came up with the $12,000 approximate per month to kind of cover. Some weeks she might be working 30 hours, and the next week she might be working 20 hours over the course of that 6 months. And thereafter, it would just be the hourly rate of $130 per hour, if needed. And my apologies that this is not updated with the correct amounts.
Commissioner Steen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm kind of in the same position as Dave. I mean, I've worked with Jody probably more than most people on this committee, and she's invaluable, great working with, a lot of experience, but I'm looking at an agreement that I haven't even had a chance to look at. It's not complete. Is there a rush to get this done? I mean, I feel uncomfortable voting on something. You guys know me. I read most everything I get, and I have not had a chance to read this, and I just feel uncomfortable having this come before the committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I totally concur. I believe we need the proper draft and not take action today, but take action tomorrow, so you have 24 hours.
Yep.
I think the time is of the essence to some degree here, that we provide direction on this, consummate this transaction, and then so she continues to work with the eminent domain process and the land acquisition within the timeline that's estimated that by July or August, most of this will have been completed. So another month delay might delay that into September. I don't know that for fact, but we don't want to lose momentum on the work that she's been doing. So
I understand that this is time sensitive to the February 1st, and we won't be having another meeting for that. So that being said, we could report to the full board tomorrow that we had a discussion on this, and because we didn't have the final documentation in front of us, we have no recommendation from the Finance Committee at this time until we see the final document. And then that way they can act on it tomorrow if it's that acceptable to the group.
I'm fine with that. Yep. Just,
And
we don't want to act on anything we haven't really looked at personally. So,
Yeah. Mr. Shockley?
And just right after I get done here, I'll make sure and get the most recent up-to-date draft emailed out to the Finance Board members and then also the Diversion Board. Once again, this just happened very quickly over the course of the last seven days. So.
Very good. Mayor?
Sure, Dardis. I would concur with waiting until tomorrow as well. I do think it's important to think about the sensitivity of the time. Losing 3 weeks in possible negotiations with some of our land acquisitions could be really detrimental to the project overall. So I do hope that as a full board that we can make a decision on this tomorrow.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? That being said, we will not take any action on this today. Again, we received a report and we're going to recommend, there was no formal recommendation or passage of approving this agreement. Moving on, item number 8 is the Diversion Authority Board approval contracting actions. Again, we call on Paul Barthol for this information.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of committee, we have in front of you 5 actions that for your consideration today. The first is a master agreement for construction services. This is one more construction company that we are looking to sign up this master agreement with. We had a few last month, and so this is just one more additional that will provide us services long-term for the property mitigation and removal of structures in the upstream mitigation area. Standard contracting through that and will remain in effect through June 30th of 2027. As with any of our master agreements, there is a $0 budget on this because the actual work, the scope, and the fee will be assigned through task orders that they bid on. So this just provides the background information, background documentation for them to provide us with those bids. If you'd like, Mr. Chair, I'll go through them all and then we can decide how to, if you want to split them up or vote on them that way.
That'd be just fine.
Thank you. The next item is Task Order 14, Amendment 0. It's under one of those task orders for property mitigation. It came in, or the bid came in, low bid came in at over $200,000, so we need to bring it to the Finance Committee and the board for your review and approval. And so this is a fairly sizable homestead with large machine sheds and several large bins just off of County Road 16 down by the diversion inlet structure. We got 3 bids on this project, on this task order. And this Schmidt & Sons were the low bid. The engineer's estimate was about $280,000 on this one. So we are recommending an award to Schmidt & Sons for the $230,668.75. The third item is Task Order 3, Amendment 0 with XL Energy. This is to provide gas service to the Savageau farms as part of their relocation agreement. The authority is responsible for providing equivalent services to their new location. And so this is the agreement with XL Energy to provide that service, basically coming from south from Horace and servicing this property that's just east of the Cheyenne River off of County Road 16. We did have a separate estimate from MDU on this work, and that was for over $1 million. And so with the savings that we see with XL Energy here, we are recommending approval of this task order amendment also. The fourth item is Task Order 6, Amendment 13 for the P3 procurement support by CH2M Hill or Jacobs Engineering. This is the final closeout for 2024, and we're just balancing out 2024. We have been tracking above the line. This is the oversight of the P3. The additional $667,000 is about 1.75 FTEs that we allocated towards additional commercial letters and commercial issues, and then also field staff that we looked at some of the additional work that was going on. The more structures than anticipated when we set this budget up. And then also, there were a few early on quality issues that we wanted to keep an eye on. So this has been approved and discussed with the co-executive directors to close out 2024 with this task order amendment. And then the fifth one is, Peggy, can you go to the next sheet for me, please? And that's the engagement letter for audit services by Eide Bailey. Eide Bailey has been providing us the annual audits for both the city and the Diversion Authority. This is for the authorities portion of it. Last year, I believe we had a contract with them for about $25,000. It's a not-to-exceed contract. I believe they only spent about just over $20,000 last year. So with their work and their familiarity with the process and the finances of the authority, we're recommending approval again for Eide Bailey this year. Any questions on any of the contract actions?
Any questions for Paul?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move 8A, B, D, and E, and I will abstain from 8C.
Okay, I have a motion for A, B, D, and E for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Steen seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the contracting actions. Again, items A, B, D, and E. Is there any further discussion? Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Curtis.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
yes,
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Gremberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Capitan.
Aye.
And Mr. Reitz.
Yes.
Everyone.
Thank you, Don. We have left on the item on under 8, approving contracting action C, Excel Energy.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Steen?
I'll move to approve contracting action C.
Commissioner Steen moves to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Capitan seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Excel Energy Task Order 03. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Curtis.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
yes,
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Gremberg. Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Capitan.
Aye.
And Mr. Reitz.
Yes.
That is it.
Thank you, Don. Under other business, item A is to elect a vice chairman for the Finance Committee. Mr. Rick Steen has been serving in that capacity. It's part of all of our agreements that there has to be a chair elected and/or appointed and a vice chair of the Finance Committee. My position has been appointed, so we have an action item here to elect a finance chairman. And from my understanding, Mr. Steen is, Mr. Steen would be more than happy to do it again.
Vice Chair, right?
Vice Chair, yes.
I move for Mr. Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Capitan. I have a motion to approve Rick Steen as Vice Chairman for the Finance Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Carlson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve Rick Steen as Vice Chair of the Finance Committee for 2025. Is there any discussion?
There could be so much discussion, but none at this time.
All good. Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Curtis.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
yes,
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Gremberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Capitan.
Aye.
And Mr. Reitz.
Yes.
That's everyone.
Mr. Shockley is at the microphone. You have something else additional for us, John?
No, I was standing for any comments regarding the election of the vice chair, and just to let you, the board, or the finance committee know, I just emailed out the updated draft of the Smith consulting agreement. Her attorney still needs to review that. My next step is to email that out to the board. I was going to provide a courtesy copy to the press since they're here.
Thank you, sir. Next order of business is the final 2025 cash budget presentation. We call on Paul for that. Paul Barthol.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, in front of you is the final 2025 cash budget with a total of 400 and, can you scroll down just a little bit? There we go.
24.
$424,055,689. And the various versions have been in front of you the last 3 meetings. The last one was for about $421 million. Version 3. There are just a few changes in this version, this final version from the previous version. One of which is in that third-party MOU that mitigation. Again, some utility costs that we anticipated to hit in December were pushed into 2025, so we added about $3 million there. And then there was, if you scroll up to the P3, that has gone from $232 million to $234 million. Due to the schedule changes and some change requests that are being finalized at this point. So just to highlight some of the revenues to cover the costs. So Peggy, if you could scroll down towards the bottom. Fargo and Cass County sales tax, very similar to what we've seen this year. And I'm very confident with the sales tax, and we'll provide a report at the board tomorrow as to what we've seen for growth. But I think those are some good solid numbers there. As with the legacy bonds, the $87 million at the end of the 2024 that we had remaining, so that we're allocating the rest of those. We anticipated spending through those probably July, August, September timeframe, depending on what we have for invoices there. And then also to cover the $234 million for the P3, you see a corresponding $234 million in WIFIA draws. The only new item from last year that we have discussed before is that we are finally allocating some of the cash on hand, just a little over $5.7 million of the $304 million that we have as a cash position. We are allocating some of that this year, so we will have to dip into that cash on hand. So, but presented in front of you, be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for Paul? Anyone? All right, thank you.
Since
This is an actionable item.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Move to approve.
Mayor Carlson moves to approve the 2025 cash budget as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Thompson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the 2025 cash budget as presented for $424,055,689. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Dawn, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mr. Steen.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Capitian.
Aye.
And Mr. Reeds.
Yes.
That is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Does any member of the Finance Committee have any business they'd like to bring forward at this time? All right, our next meeting will be February 26th. Thank you, everyone.